I'd like to strike the last word. I'd like to thank my colleague and colleague on this critical bill, Representative Soto, for the bipartisan way in which this bill has been brought to this committee. And yeah, this is how this committee works, Madam Chair, and I appreciate your leadership and the ranking member's leadership. While yesterday's unfortunate news regarding malfeasance in Puerto Rico underscores the need for strong program integrity measures, we all agree with that. It's also important to note that the biggest victims of this, the American citizens of Puerto Rico, for whom the money and resultant health care was stolen. And what a shame. We'll get to the bottom of it, Madam Chair. These American victims should be held harmless, and we should redouble our efforts to put proper safeguards in place so this malfeasance doesn't happen again. I commend FBI Director Wray and federal authorities for their swift action and look forward to equally swift justice. And as an aside, I look forward to my good friend and constituent, Stephen Muldrow, who was recently nominated by the White House as the new U.S. Attorney for the District of Puerto Rico, taking office and championing, I can't even talk, the cause of justice on behalf of the constituents of Puerto Rico. While I may be attempting to put the political brakes on this bill due to this unfortunate incident, we must remember that the pending Medicaid fiscal cliff is not only an issue for the U.S. territories, but the United States. It's a U.S. issue here in the mainland. This especially is true with the state of Florida, which is often the first to experience the influx of Medicaid patients from the territories seeking care, placing an additional burden on Florida's Medicaid program, providing network and patient benefits. Unlike the rest of the U.S., the territories have been operating their Medicaid programs under federal funding caps, as you mentioned, Madam Chair, that have failed to reflect the current needs of the Americans living there. Without intervention, over 1.5 million Americans, including many children, could lose their health care. Under this bill, the Medicaid caps are responsibly raised, again, to properly reflect the needs of American patients in the territories. Additionally, the following robust program integrity measures have been added, and I know there will be more added after this incident. All territories must report to Congress annually on how they spent increased Medicaid investment. Like all state Medicaid programs, Puerto Rico will need to have in place an asset verification system in place after 2 years and a payment error rate measurement system in place after the 3rd year. Guam, American Samoa, and the Northern Mariana Islands will need to have in place a transformed Medicaid statistical information system and a Medicaid fraud control unit by the end of the 4th year. The U.S. Virgin Islands will need to have in place an asset verification system by the end of the 4th year. While I believe there's still room for additional program integrity improvements, especially considering the recent events in Puerto Rico, I encourage my colleagues to advance this conversation by voting in favor of today's draft and continue to work with me and Representative Soto, the chairman of the full committee, the subcommittees, the ranking members, to produce and advance the best bill we can out of the full committee to the House floor. I thank you, Madam Chair, and I guess 1 minute and 9 seconds to spare. Thank you very much, and I yield back.